Lechayim, everybody. Lechayim Lebrocha. Lechayim Lebrocha. Lechayim Lebrocha. I'm telling you, Lechayim Lebrocha. Lechayim Lebrocha. Lechayim Lebrocha. Okay. Guys, this is all you're going to hear from me tonight. So first of all, Lechayim. First of all, I'd like to welcome Rabbi Paltiel. And I know is anyone here at the Shabbaton? We actually, some of us, got to Farbrengen with him a few years ago when we did the Shabbaton in the Poconos. So for some of us, this is the second round. And
I have no material.
But we remember everything you said.
Of course.
We're also not always.
And I believe you. So
I didn't tell the truth, and I did. I would like to thank all of those that helped out, all of those that were mishtatet in the Farbrengen tonight. I'd like to thank Rabbi Gerber, who rallied the troops, invited Rabbi Paltiel here, and bothered a lot of you. So thank you very much.
I bother people for
and
living.
I would also like to thank Josh and for helping sponsor tonight, and also give a massive. I don't know, not Yashar Koyach, but just like I'm totally in awe of the fact that today, after 2 years, Josh finished Ayin Beis after learning every single day. I still remember last year when we did what? When's the Peher? I know he did it because every other day I would get a text with a picture of a page. Read this one. So he did the whole thing and I did some. So. I still remember the scene. It was after on our men's overnight last year, and none of us got any sleep, and we're all rolling out of bed 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning, and Josh is sitting there by the fire with his Ayin Beis, getting his shirin for the morning, and with that sort of determination, I said, if he can inspire me and probably all of us, I'm not sure what can. So Lechayim, continue to learn for yourself, to inspire each and every one of us as you do so. With that, I hand it over to Rabbi Paltiel. I'm done.
I can't speak because the internet's not working over here. Allah Stadium. I'm missing an audience. Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Hello, everybody. We're having a Chassidische Farbrengen. I spoke for the ladies before. And the difference, you're speaking to the ladies, speaking to the men, is the ladies, it's not a Chassidische, I'm sure it's a Chassidische Farbrengen. But the guys are not there for the drinking and they're not there for the singing. So it's a speech. This is a Chassidische Farbrengen. The Chassidische Farbrengen means that even though I was schlepped here from Brooklyn to talk, but hopefully we'll have a Farbrengen that'll create some warmth and some energy. We'll sing a Chassidische Nigen Aliba Denafshe. We'll sing a Chassidische song and we'll forget about ourselves a little bit. And it'll move us. First of all, it'll lift us up, which is already a good thing. And maybe also it will translate into an improvement in our practical living, which is the ultimate end of a Farbrengen. So Lechayim, everybody, please drink with me. Lechayim Lebrocha. We're gathering on the Rebbe's 120th birthday. 120 years. What comes after 120? What comes after 120? Do you know? What comes after 120? 121. That's all. What comes after 119? 120. What comes after 100? 120. That's the ganze Geschäft. That's the ganze Geschäft. The question is, how many good actions are invested between 120 and 121? But the time is going to move. 120. Bis 120. Und was ist denn noch? Until 120. After that is what? 121. So Lechayim Rebbe for 121. And next year for 122 years. I'll tell you a story about Lechayim Rebbe. It's a wonderful story. I have a mechut, his name is Rabbi Weinberg from South Africa, Rabbi Levi Weinberg. So he told me a personal story, a very beautiful personal story. He was sent by the Rebbe on Shlichus to Australia in the 1970s, 1975. The Rebbe used to send every 2 years 6 yeshiva bachrim, 6 bachrim from 770 to Melbourne, and between me, you, and the lamppost, they were the best bachrim on Lubavitch, to strengthen the yeshiva in Melbourne. And Rabbi Levi Weinberg was amongst those shluchim who were sent to Melbourne on this shlichus. in the city of Sydney, there was an old Lubavitcher Rav whose name was Abramson, Harav Abramson. I forgot his first name. Rabbi Abramson learned the Tamchatim in Lubavitch in Russia. Rabbi Abramson never had any children of his own, but he married the almana of Harav Gutnik. Rabbi Gutnik, if you know the Gutniks from Australia, they didn't have a father. Their father's name was Amot Chazev HaKohen. He passed away when they were very little. And he married their mother, Rabbi Abramson. And he was their stepfather. I saw a letter of Mazel Tov where the Rebbe writes to Rabbi Abramson, Mazel Tov for the bar mitzvah of your stepson. You know, he was their stepfather. He raised them. Rabbi Abramson was a real Rav, a Meidei Rav, a Paisek Dinim. And he moved to Sydney, which is like now moving to Mars. And he got involved in all the matters of the community. You could see his letters where he's complaining about the standards of kashrus. You know, in America, they used to have something called basar. You know, you have basar. It's supposed to say basar kosher, yeah? But if you undo the light behind the back of the base, it looks like basar kosher. It's meat, but you're selling it as basar kosher. So in a lot of places in the world, you had the same problem where the food was, they called today kosher style. It wasn't kosher. And he came to Sydney right after the war, after the Second World War. And he fought to make Yiddishkeit. He was a real presence in Australia. He was a Lubavitcher Chassid. He was a Shliach. He was a Tomim. He was a person that did great things in his life. So Rabbi Weinberg, Levi Weinberg, was a Bacher, and the yeshiva was in Melbourne. But Sukkot, the yeshiva was closed. All the boys went home. So the 6 shluchim who were stuck in Melbourne because the Rebbe didn't let them come home for the 2 years kept themselves busy by visiting different communities. Rabbi Weinberg and one of his friends was sent to Sydney, Australia. There was already Lubavitch in Sydney then. This is 1975, 76. It's a long time ago. But there was already Rabbi Feldman had come to Sydney many years before. And there was work to do miftzayim, to do whatever needed to be done. This Rabbi Abramson, Harav Abramson, that year, I think it was 1975 to 76, had a stroke. Erev Yom Kippur. He was an elderly man by that point. He had a stroke, a lady was in the hospital. And he hadn't spoken a single word. Rabbi Levi Weinberg's father was Harav Yosef Weinberg, Rabbi Yosef Weinberg. I don't know if you remember him, but he was a very beautiful Jew, really. There's such a thing as a beautiful fruit. He was a beautiful Jew. He was beautiful. He was beautiful in every way. He was gorgeous. He was a beautiful Yid with good midas and a very warm heart. And he was a very organized man. So when his son Levi was in Australia, he used to send him from the Rebbe a piece of honey cake, a little wine. I don't know how he got it from New York to Australia. In those days, it wasn't like today. It was a big deal. But he sent his son wine, either by mail or through an emissary, through a courier, that the Rebbe gave out for Kosh Shel Bracha, the wine of blessing, at the end of Rosh Hashanah. And he sent it to his son in Melbourne, and the wine arrived. And when Rabbi Weinberg, Levi, was a bacher, went to Sydney, he took the wine with him. And they told him, Harav Abramson, who was probably then in his 70s, is ill and he's in the hospital. Why don't you go and visit him? So Rabbi Levi Weinberg said to himself, if I'm going to go visit him, I should bring along some of the wine that my father sent me from the Rebbe. And he went into his hospital room. It was Chalamoid Sukkos. The man hadn't said a word in 2 weeks. Hadn't spoken a word in 2 weeks. And he came into his room, Harav Abramson's room, and introduced himself, Rabbi Weinberg's son, and so forth. And he says, we're Taki in Melbourne, but my father sent me wine from the Rebbe's wine from Rosh Hashanah. And he poured him a little glass, a kelishik, and he gave it to Harav Abramson to say Lechayim. So Levi Weinberg described it to me. He says he sat up in bed, and he looked past me like as if I wasn't there. He looked straight past me. I was standing right in front of him. He looked, his vision, his eyes were beyond me. And he raised his cup and he said, Lechayim Rebbe. It was the first words he had spoken since his stroke, and the whole family got very excited. And Lechayim Rebbe, Lechayim Rebbe, Lechayim Rebbe, Lechayim Rebbe, Lechayim Temel Shalom, Lechayim V'Levracha, Lechayim everybody, Lechayim, Lechayim V'Levracha, Lechayim.